Reseller Clickbait Podcast, episode 93. What's up, Cory?
Morning, Ken. Not
Cory
much.
Grams of
Another
Pops.
beautiful day.
Oh, yeah. It's still cold out there. It's
Cold.
it's ridiculous. It's
We're in
like
the middle
20
of a
some.
friggin' blizzard.
You got honestly?
Yeah, I looked outside this morning. There's like 6 inches on the ground. We're supposed to get 12 to 14 today, between today and tomorrow.
Note to self: do not move to South Dakota. Okay, got that one.
We've told it to head your way.
Yeah, I've
It's
been.
coming.
My mother always goes over this. I don't know. I call it an old wives' tale, or it's probably one of those old farmer's almanac things where, like, it's supposed to snow like 3 times after the forsythia bush or whatever, this flowering thing, after it blooms. So I went out.
Is that a real word?
It is forsythia.
Okay.
So I went out around my neighborhood, and I cut down all the forsythia bush in my whole neighborhood just to, kind of ward off any extra snow that might be coming.
Cutting them down sounds like a lot of work, but I think identifying them would be the harder part because I've never even heard of that word before.
Actually,
you might be just cutting down oak trees.
I honestly don't really know what a forsythia looks like. So yes, that would be trouble to do that.
I feel like I got to own this snowstorm a little bit. I do remember saying I could use one more snow before this all goes back to garage sales.
You did.
So could be getting this. I mean, I may have called for it.
You were going to take that plow off of the tractor so that,
I was going to
kind of edge spring a little bit closer, and here you didn't.
Yeah.
So I think this whole
could be
thing
my
is
fault.
your fault. It drives me nuts because like last week we had like really nice weather. It was in the mid 60s some of the days, and I was able to like work out in the garage, like the parking side that's not heated or anything. And even at one point I even had to take off my jacket. I got a little bit warm, but
we were out working in t-shirts with the big shop door open for the better part of a whole day last week here.
And now you got a blizzard coming.
Now we've got a blizzard here. So
this is true. It's there right now.
It's all right though. I mean, it is serving its purpose. It is slowing things down. We are not ready to be missing out on all the garage sales yet, and people are getting garage sales going. So
yes,
it's fine that this slowed them down a smidge.
They are trickling in a little bit around my area for sure. But so anyway, Cory Grams of Pops, Ken, SSKPromo. Welcome again to another episode. Hey, how's your bracket looking? How's your bracket looking, Cory?
Let's hold the shelves up, all right. Is that what we're talking about?
No, we're talking your March Madness. College basketball bracket.
Basketball?
No. No. All right.
March Madness in our house growing up just meant don't mess with your mom in March. She's going to be angry. So that was it.
Yeah, doing the whole March Madness bracket thing. I got a couple different. Well, it's the same bracket, 2 different leagues. One of them, I'm currently tied for first. So with a couple of my buddies that we do, and then I'm also in one with a bunch of other resellers. It's like a reseller bracket that Tim from over the years put together, like the Reseller Information Network. So it's a whole bunch.
So
of
are you betting on
resellers,
resellers, or is it just resellers betting on basketball?
No. It's resellers betting on basketball. Yeah,
betting on resellers would be way more fun.
Yeah, and Dana Demand is, even though he was voted the number 1 reseller in the Reseller Madness bracket, he is currently not beating me in the. I'm tied. I'm like middle of the pack right now, so some things have to shake out next week.
I like me some Dan and Demand, but if Dan and Demand pulled out the number 1 reseller in that bracket may have been just about as scripted as WWF.
Bracket is busted. No, that was a fun show watching that reseller. So, yeah, I mean that's all the buzz. A lot of people are talking about the March Madness. Probably talking more about the March Madness than they are the forsythia bush blooming.
I've heard of March Madness before. I don't think I've ever heard the word forsythia before. So, although it's a fun word, now I want to find uses for it.
It is. It's like
Could be the word of the day.
Forsythia.
That's fun. Yeah. I have heard of that one.
There we go. There you go. The word of the day is Forsythia. And it'll pop up on the screen right here. Forsythia. As I give Cory extra editing duties.
I was waiting for it to pop up. I thought you were going to do some stuff.
Oh no! Oh yeah, I don't do show prep. I did do one thing. Of show prep though. I'll take a second here and give a shout out to a longtime listener, been listening for forever. Today is Nancy's birthday. Jill's mother, Nancy.
Hey.
Today is, we record this on Sunday, and so today is her birthday. So when she watches this tomorrow, I'm going to pop this up. The only show prep I did, I'm going to pop this up on the screen. Happy birthday to Nancy, right there with the birthday cake and the candles. So
I was counting.
I hope
candles. You took it away too fast.
Oh,
she's 21 again, right?
She's 21 again. Yes. We went out to dinner on Friday. And she was, making like the waitress and stuff guess how old she is. And I won't mention that here, live for, recording for the millions and millions of people that will be watching. But happy birthday to Nancy. Hopefully you had a great day yesterday and a great day today, too. So,
are we singing?
Oh, I also wanted to say, you wanted to sing?
No, I don't sing well.
Hooray for Nancy. Hooray at last.
See, I don't know.
Hooray for Nancy. She's a horse's ass. So that's
great. Now I have to bleep stuff out too. Sorry, Nancy.
That's a birthday song we do. I won't even go into the history of that song, where it came from or whatever, but it actually started at a local bar. Whenever it was somebody's birthday, the bartender would ring the bell, and then everybody, all the regulars, they would all sing this song.
Now, that's a story I can believe that was spawned in the midst of drinking people.
Probably.
Yep. I see that.
So, yeah.
Who was the first one to get that birthday song, do you imagine? It wasn't John, it was for his sister, Forsythia.
Is it John and Forsythia Smith? I'm going to change. Actually, I'm going to have a new name. I'm going to call my, Ken SSKPromo Mr. Bill Forsythia Smith. Although it does kind of sound like a female name, doesn't it?
Well, it sounds like a disease, but we're not going to go there. Sounds like an ailment.
Hey, shout out to Steve again. Happy Heart Treasures, that was our guest last week on the show. Thank you to him again. That episode's doing pretty good. It was fun to talk to him and watch their live show that they did. They did their first live. And someone else later today. Now, this will be
the day after.
The day after.
Sorry, guys, you missed it.
How did the show go? It
went
Cory?
Wonderfully. I'm projecting. It went wonderfully. I know everything went perfectly.
Well attended. I'm probably figuring that chat's going to have at least 75 to 100 people in it. 7 to 8? 7 to 8.
7 to 8 would be fine.
You and Teresa are gearing up to do your first live on your channel, Grams and Pops. So, and are you going to publish that as regular content, or will that just be under like the live tab of your channel?
I honestly don't know yet. We'll probably republish it as normal content.
Okay.
I would think. I mean, part of the reason we're doing it is because we literally didn't know what to do a video on. We said we're kind of, we wanted to be done with the whole Transformer saga and kind of the negative. We had 3 videos in a row that were kind of focused on something negative that happened, and we're looking to get more on the positive side. So we were going to transform out of that back into our normal videos, and we didn't have a topic. So we figured, let's just wrap up the Transformer thing, and then let's do a live just to transition back to our normal stuff.
Okay.
So it's born purely out of not knowing what to talk about next. So we're going to try live. We're going to see how it goes.
And so you felt that the best course of action to get back on track was to put your unedited mug on out there. Like, okay, all right.
Yeah, decision skills are not like we don't make good decisions. So it's just going to be what it is.
I feel your pain. I feel your pain there on that. Well, I was in the chat during your live yesterday when it was on, and I had a great time. I had a great time being in the chat. Of course, I that's foreshadowing. I think I'm going to have a great time when I'm in there
Probably
later
not
today.
Even going to show up.
We were talking about sales and the sales creeping in and coming on. I went to a church rummage sale Friday over in Jillstown when I went over to go over to dinner with Nancy for her happy birthday dinner. Happy birthday, Nancy. But there was a church rummage sale.
This is the one you go to every year, right?
No, I've not been to this one before. It's just one that came up and it was advertised. And I had missed out the first day. It was actually like Thursday, Friday, Saturday is when they were having it. And I was doing my 10 versus 10 show on Thursday, which is why I didn't get to go, which is why I am, little self-promotion here. I am going to be changing probably in the first week of April here. So probably do the regular show this Thursday, 11 a.m. over on SSK Promo channel. And then after that, I'm going to change the day and the time. I think right now, I was asking in the chat, I think I might do Wednesdays at noon. Because around our area, all the yard sales start on Thursdays, and that's usually the best day to get out. And so I thought I had changed it up last year too, because I want to be out yard selling. I don't want to be sitting here, listing stuff on my Ken versus 10 show when I could be out buying some new stuff. And so I'm going to...
YouTube interferes with reselling enough as it is sometimes, so it's good to make the adjustment to keep it from stopping the reselling.
Yes. And so I'm going to change that show up. I'll probably this week when I'll announce the exact day and time, but I think I'm going to shoot for that Wednesday at noon. That way I can be out, because a lot of my audience too is wanting to be out at the sales on a Thursday. So not only am I like sitting here missing out, then there's nobody in the chat because they're all out.
We do have a content drought. There is a day when there's just not much content coming out for reseller content. So if anybody's out there and they're wanting to make content to drop on a certain day, it seems like Sunday afternoons are just dead. Like nothing comes out on Sunday. Do you know of anything that comes out on Sunday? Am I missing something? I mean, we drop a video Sunday morning. Wednesday and Sundays is when our videos drop.
Yeah.
But other than
as far as live content or something, because I watch a lot of live content,
or podcasts or anything like that.
Yeah, podcasts. I don't know if anybody on Wednesday. So there you go. There's
not Wednesdays, Sundays. I know one that drops on Wednesdays.
Did I say Wednesday?
You did. I'm looking for Sunday content. Okay. Sunday is the day we get to finally sit down and relax before the week starts again. And it seems like it's just a drought day for content. There's just nothing there.
Well, yeah, and I'm not sure, because usually, right now we're in NASCAR season, so I'm pretty much probably going to be watching the NASCAR race all afternoon, and then football season.
Keep saying these things.
I'm not. These are called sports, Corey. It's what grown men do. It's what grown men watch sports, and ladies too. I don't want to exclude the ladies from that, but so yeah, I'll be watching NASCAR usually on Sunday, and then football, and then there is that kind of that drought that there's no sports on when.
We live smack in the middle between 6 lakes, all within about 5 miles from my house.
Okay.
So in the summertime, if Sundays are dead, I could just go fishing. But in the wintertime, I'm not a big ice fisherman. Like I don't trust the ice. I don't like the ice. So we need some wintertime Sunday content. And sports isn't going to cut it, because I'm not going to yell at a screen at grown men to do things that I couldn't do if I wanted to.
I want to go fishing. I've been getting that itch. I didn't go fishing much last year. I think I talked about that already. I want to go fishing. So, hey, here we go. If my cousin
We'll do a live from the lake.
Ooh, see, that would be cool. I actually made some fishing content that I never put out. When I first started my channel, I used to resell half the day and fish half the day, and I would wear my GoPro and
it would just be me snagging lines and breaking hooks off.
I was going to say, what makes interesting fishing content is actually catching a fish. And so, I have hours of footage of me just casting and casting and casting. But anyway, okay, I was talking about this rummage sale that I went to. Oh, knocking that over. I was talking about this rummage sale that I went to, and I might have found... Well, so far I have found the greatest item of the young 2024 kind of sourcing year. I know we've had a couple of months here, but it's kind of been limited to bins and limited to, thrift stores and stuff like that. But as we get into the yard sales,
was it a forsythia pot?
It was not a forsythia pot. I don't even know. I don't think I do go to sales where people are selling like potted plants, or they sell starts like onion,
I know,
a bundle of onion starts or something.
Teresa gives me crap because I always buy the plants.
Why are you buying?
It's hard. I like house plants, and our whole house is windows.
Okay.
So why would you not have plants in a house like that's mostly windows? And she doesn't like. She could kill a plant just by looking at it. Like, she does not keep plants alive. But I like plants. So when we see plants, I buy them up.
You buy plant? Yeah. See, their first problem is all the windows in your house. I'm totally opposite. I was thinking of, rather than having my windows like replaced, I'm thinking I'm just going with plywood. I'm going to put some plywood over top of them. And
but why?
I like it. I'm not a fan of, natural light in the house all the time. I would rather.
I love the natural light. I used to cover my windows because I hate neighbors, but I don't have any now. So now my neighbors are like the deer and the rabbits out in the morning, and I don't mind the windows being open. So we don't cover the windows anymore.
Yeah, mine are all covered up pretty. I like I said, I don't like the natural light. I would rather. I should have been a vampire. Oh, is it too late in my career to am I too late in life to start something new and just be a vampire?
This doesn't fit your persona. Happy Ken hates the natural light, and Grumpy Cory likes the light. Something has turned upside down today.
Things are not right, or I could feel it. I could feel it as soon as you came on the screen this morning. I was like, something's different. Cory's a little more. I know what it is.
You wouldn't cut down all those forsythia bushes, and now the balance is off.
It is. I don't know. Anyway, so I found this good find. I keep getting sidetracked on these stories. The greatest find, and I immediately, as soon as I saw it, I thought of you, Cory. I thought,
nice.
It was as soon as okay. So I'm at the sale, and on this table they have. It was a pretty decent sale. It was pretty well organized. They had like all up on hallway, and then like the big sanctuary area. It was all filled with tables and pretty well organized. Well, right as you came in, there were these like media. They CDs, DVDs, VHS, and they had 3 boxes of albums, vinyl albums. It's like, oh, cool. And although it was like second day and they've been picked through. So I walk up to the box of albums. True story. I walk up to the box of albums, and I just kind of like reach in to, pull them back to see what kind of stuff is in there. And I reach in randomly in a spot, and I pull back, and this is what I spot right here.
Tony Orlando and Don.
Tony, look at this right here. There they are, Cory. That's what they look like right there. Got a lot of lights going on there. Tony Orlando and Don's greatest hits on vinyl. Man, truly, it is the best of the best. Tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree. Has anybody seen my Sweet Gypsy Rose? You don't know Sweet Gypsy Rose? Who's in the strawberry patch with Sally? Come on.
Well, that's provocative.
Man, it's a great tune. Candida, great. Oh, and then probably my favorite Tony Orlando and Don song, right there. It is second track on side B. Knock 3 times. Knock 3 times on the ceiling, Cory, if you want me.
On the ceiling?
Knock 3 times on the ceiling. Twice on the pipe. Twice on the pipe if the answer is no. And see if you knew. If you know, you know. So there we go.
And if you don't, you really don't.
That might be the greatest find of this whole season. Well, I know it is up to now. I was excited about that. Yeah, let's not talk about like that. We need to put
some background music behind here, because I need to start listening to these guys and find out what the hubbub is all about.
Put that Knock 3 times in there in the background. It's a great tune. I also found a vintage San Francisco 49ers like throw blanket kind of hanging tapestry thing. This is really sweet.
And you classified the Tony Orlando as the best find over that?
Well, for my personal preference, yeah, the San Francisco 49ers, is that
one of them's worth money, and the other one's not.
The other one is worth just like my piece of my, I could put this on, I could get a turntable out, I could throw on some Tony Orlando and Don greatest hits, stepping out. I'm going to boogie tonight.
Do you have a record player?
I do. Actually, right there is
nice.
Underneath my thing is a little, I actually use that. It's just like a little, like open it up and play it. But I use that for testing some vinyl. I'll listen to a little bit of vinyl every now and then, but I use it for testing things. And I also use it for cleaning some of the albums. I have like a little cleaning brush and I'll get it, on the turntable and put a little solution on there and
you spend
clean
way
those
more
albums
time on
off.
those than I do.
And
we've only bought vinyl a couple of times. I think we've sold maybe 8 records, and I don't think I've ever taken one out to test it or clean it. Like it is what it is.
If
I just don't know enough about them to be doing that.
If it's a higher dollar album or whatever, I will clean it up. Some of the other ones, I'm not doing that to every album that I get, but I check all the condition and stuff, and I'll give them a quick wipe with a cloth to get off any fingerprints and stuff if I'm photographing them. But see, Tony, I should put that up someplace where.
See, that's a whole episode, because I know record people are fairly particular.
Yes.
I mean, they're not camera people. Like, camera people are crazy, but I know record people are a little particular about their records. And we've never, like, I'd be scared to even try and clean one. I'd be scared I'd scratch it or something. So we don't. Like, it is what it is.
I get, I like, a lot of times I'll get the people when I sell an album that they want to instruct you on how to ship it. Ship it this way and, double protect it, put 2 layers of whatever in there. And then please label it that it's fragile, that it's heat sensitive, and do not bend, and and all this. It's like
record mailers. We always cut a piece of cardboard for the top and bottom, and then we throw a piece of bubble wrap on the top and the bottom and throw it in the record mailer, and that's about it.
Yeah, I have.
I mean, we don't get much crazier than that.
All the good albums that I have, they all get put in a plastic sleeve, and then into the record mail. I'll put bubble wrap around them and put that. So I protect them.
The only reason we have record mailers at all is because we bought a bunch of those sun catchers, like they look like stained glass decorations you hang in your window.
Yeah.
We bought a bunch of those at a garage sale in Vegas that ended up being worth decent money. So we bought record mailers to ship those in. That's the only reason we even have the record mailers.
There you go.
Corey's tip of the day. Records.
Yeah, I ship those record mailers. Do come in handy for other side of, like ephemera sort of things, magazines, books, folders and stuff. They really do come in handy for a lot of those.
We
things.
have comic book mailers for those, and again, we've never sold a comic book. We bought those for other things that were not even book related, but we bought comic book mailers for stuff.
Why haven't you? Do you have your comic books listed?
We don't own any. Yeah, we've never bought a comic book.
Oh, I thought
we
you
just
said
have the
bought
mailers for.
Books.
No, we just have the mailers because we use them for other weird shaped stuff we send.
Gotcha. Yeah, we were talking about that. We'll get into a little bit of a topic here, I guess, and that kind of segues a little bit into that. Is we were talking the other day about how we ship things, and or I guess how we end up preparing our shipments in the end when it's Monday morning, especially when you usually have a lot more packages than most of the other days. And you were telling me your process of what you do, and it's like that's different. It's different than the way that I do it, and so you start to thinking, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. Maybe I should adopt some of those processes, and maybe well, you're listening to me going, Ken, you're crazy. Why would you ever do it that way? But it's so we got to talking, about that, about things that we could do to be more productive, or necessarily not. I don't know. Is it
more efficient?
Productive. There you go. That's the word. More efficient. And we'll pop that word up on the bottom of the screen here. Efficient. Sorry about that. Okay. So, and we as we kind of talked through the conversation there, and we decided, let's kind of stop talking about it because might make for some good content. So the overall premise that we decided on is, how are really taking a look at our reselling process, our reselling business, and what are some steps, what are some shortcomings that we have, what are some things that we do that we might just keep doing them that way because yes, Cory.
I spotted one. Buying Tony Orlando records may be a shortcoming.
Well, to each his own, sometimes at the sales, I buy things that bring me personal joy. It's not always about reselling. Yeah, I can get the San Francisco 49er stuff, and I can buy the Cardinal snow globes that I got, and I go, I pulled a page out of Roman's book, Anytime Picker. He had one of those situations where almost like if you touch it and it'll sell, or if you see somebody else, and he had some Russian nesting dolls. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Those little dolls, you take them out there, smaller in there. He would feature that on one of his shorts the other day that he got those. And there was I think they were the exact same ones of Russian nesting dolls that I picked up. So yeah, all of that stuff is for resale, but Tony Orlando and Don, great, and greatest hits. I mean, they're all right there in one collection. I don't have to go out anyplace else. Not that I don't already have some Tony Orlando. TO&D, as I like to call them, TO&D, is I got them on my playlist. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the processes of things, and we kind of decided to kind of shorten things up that there were three areas. In order to be a reseller, you got to buy stuff, and you gotta list stuff, and you gotta ship stuff. Right?
Well, you don't have to do the last two, but if you're going to sell on eBay, you kind of do.
Yeah. So you just like to do the buying part. That's what everybody likes to do.
You could buy it and take it to an auction, and then you wouldn't have to list it or ship it. But if you're going to sell at eBay, yes, you have to buy, you have to list, and you have to ship.
Okay. Yes, I understand. So as it pertains to, I guess because we're both mainly eBay sellers, that we're pertaining, but also, Macari, Poshmark, any platform that you might sell on.
Not this week. I think I've crushed my week on Facebook Marketplace more than I have on eBay this week. So this week I am a Facebook Marketplace seller.
Okay, which is much easier as far as listing, and there's no fees and all of that.
There's a mental hurdle there for some reason. For some reason, listing on Marketplace is hard for us to do, but yeah, you're right. It is easier. It takes away the whole shipping and all of that hubbub.
So as far as our topic, so we thought we might do, like, over the next couple weeks, kind of talk about, like, break it down. Like today we were talking about buying and what sort of things, just kind of looking at and not only might, hopefully it's an interesting as we start to talk about it, but it's also just personally taking a look at what I'm doing and analyzing it. Now, you had brought up a thing in any business. You have like three questions that you like to ask.
I always have three questions.
Okay. That are not related to Tony Orlando and Don.
Correct. Although I could relate a few of those questions to them, but no, in this, when I'm trying to build a process, we always try and look at it from three different directions. And that is, what can we do to save time? Okay. So in this process, the buying process, what can we do to save time? Is there anything we can do to save money? And is there anything we can do to increase our profit on the back end?
Okay.
Now, if you dig into those three questions, you're going to find out pretty quickly that they overlap. That if I do something to save time, it's probably going to save me money and it might make me more profit.
Yes.
But by looking at them from those three different lenses, you sometimes come up with different answers of things you can do. So we use those three to try and build a process in pretty much any business. If you're going to build a process, those are the three angles we look at it from. So we kind of did that for this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's probably a really good process, because as you start to look at it and you say, okay, let's break this down to the buying, just the buying part. What can I do in the buying part? And then we discussed a little bit before we started to record this morning. Okay, where does this element, is this a listing portion? Is this a ship? Is this part of the buying? Is it part of the listing? And so, yeah, some of this stuff does overlap, but I think it's a really good exercise that if you looked at anything that you were doing, if you were out at the sales or if you were doing whatever, and you ask yourself those questions: how can I save time? How can I save money? And how could I have increased my profit in whatever process I'm doing right now? Yeah. So as far as the buying process, what kind of criteria, what do you think that goes into that? Or I'll let you go here first. What I guess shortcomings, or what do you see in your business that you could be more efficient?
Most everything we do. Like I think this section is probably the one we suck at the most. Like this is where we have the most inefficiencies in our business right now.
Okay.
And I think we just started to recognize them recently. So we've done this for just under 2 years. We're just starting to see all the things we're doing wrong, and most of them are in this area, I think.
So what like, throw out an example. What is something that you see right now that you go, oh, hey, maybe you said that was one of the areas that you were most inefficient. What's something that you see right now that's making you inefficient?
I think the best example of it is we walk out into the eBay shop and we have that giant death pile sitting there.
Yes.
I mean, that's
guilty.
That's the giant monster in the room, is that death pile. And if you had an efficient process for your buying and receiving, it wouldn't be there, right? And then we go to list things and we see how we list them. We're nitpicking out of the pile and cherry picking, not nitpicking.
Yeah.
Cherry picking out of that pile, and there's stuff that just stays there forever. And which is a horrible inefficiency in the business, because it's never going to leave if you're doing it that way. So I think
yes.
And then you ask yourself, why? Why are you cherry picking? Why aren't you picking those items? And I think it's because they weren't something you probably should have bought in the first place. Or
true.
They need to be cleaned, or they need to be tested, or they're a project, not a product you're going to go list right away.
Yeah.
So we had to start looking at it from the beginning again with a different set of eyes. Like, what can we do? That's kind of our process. Is we buy stuff.
Yeah.
And we just bring it home in boxes and bags, and we pile it up next to our death pile, because we can't put it on those shelves anymore because they're full.
Yeah.
And then we cherry pick when it's time to list.
Don't you think that a lot of that has to do with how you're buying stuff? Okay. Yep. If I'm going out to the yard sales, or if I'm going to the thrift store, or wherever I'm at the bins, I am making that choice right then. Am I going to buy that item? Okay. Yep. And that's where the I guess that's where it all starts. But if your business model, or if one of the avenues that you go down is doing like when you guys got the storage units, now you're going to have all of this stuff. You didn't necessarily just make a conscious decision, I'm going to buy this one thing, but everything gets folded into your death pile.
Yeah, you have to deal with it somehow.
If you do, I like to buy box lots at live auctions, because I see one good item in there, but you end up with everything in there. If you do, like we talked with Steve last week, where they do estate sale cleanouts, you're going to gain a lot of stuff. So in that process, I guess it depends. If we kind of break that down a little bit to, if you are going to a thrift store or a bin or a yard sale, garage sale, some of that inefficiency is you're choosing the wrong items, or items that you don't want to list.
Well, you could save time and money. You could answer both those first two questions. You can save time and money by buying better.
Yes.
And you're going to make more product or profit in the end, because you're going to be able to process more good items. Okay. So by buying better and being pickier about what you buy, you could certainly save time and money. So you're answering two of those, which actually indirectly affects the third. But on ours, I think it boils down to, sometimes you don't have the option to buy better, because like you said, you're buying a storage unit. Buying better is very easy to say, but it's very difficult to do across the board. It doesn't work for everything.
Exactly.
So then you have to have, for us, I think we are pretty disciplined when it comes to following our processes that we do have. We just don't have very many of them in this business yet. But usually once we get a process, we're pretty disciplined about following it. And we just realized we don't have any for this side of the business. We don't have a process for buying things and
you're just out there
dealing with them.
buying.
Just buy it and get it in the pile. I mean, that's our process. Yeah. Get it in the pile.
So that you have something to list eventually. Yep. And yeah, I know for me, it's kind of the same way. And one of the, as I'm analyzing this and looking and asking myself those questions, when I'm going to go out to the sales, I want to make better buys that are, and that seems like a logical thing. Oh yeah, Ken, quit buying stupid stuff. But I get myself hung up on leaving potential profit at a sale. And I say, the potential profit, nothing is profit that's going to sit in a death pile. It's just
right.
What is that? It's not an asset. Yeah, it's a problem. There you go. That's an easy way to put it. So, if I break it down, because I'm not doing storage unit auctions and I'm not doing like big cleanouts and stuff. So I am not gaining myself a lot of inventory. Now I do some cleanouts, and that's where I have things. And I do, like say, for example, right now, we've talked about Jill is working in her basement and cleaning stuff out. I came home from her house the other night with 6 IKEA bags full, and then the whole bed of my truck with boxes of stuff that she is cleaning out. So I have to process that. Now it's not part of the buying process because I didn't have to buy it, but it's part of that initial thing. What is it that I have to do with this stuff before I list it? And what can I put in place to make that more efficient? Rather than just, here's all these bags, let's put them on a pile.
Yeah, and I think building that process is the first step. I think you have to have a process.
Yes.
Like I really do. I think if you're going to do this as a business, if you're going to do this for your income, not just a side hustle, I think you have to build a process for all the pieces of your business.
Yeah.
And this one is probably one of the most important processes, because if you don't have this, none of the rest of it gets done. This is the first link in the chain.
Exactly. Or it takes longer, or those inefficiencies. We should count up at the end how many times we say efficient or inefficient at the end of this. Seems like I've said it probably more times than we said forsythia.
Forsythia. See, I changed the whole word.
Forsythia Smith. So let's talk about that then, rather than just say, hey, you should do that. And again, the conversation isn't telling people,
we're doing it.
Hey, you should do this. The conversation is, ask yourself these questions and analyze what you're doing. And so what are some of the things, what is a shortcoming that you've thought about when you started to think about this topic, and what is either a resolution or at least a direction that you think you might go?
I think for us, the biggest shortfall in our buying process is that we didn't have a process. But I think that the first and most obvious one is that when we buy stuff, we bring it home and we add it to the pile.
Okay.
And I think that's probably the most common mistake.
So what can you do about that?
But a lot of people.
What are you going to do about that? You're still going to keep going out and buying. You're still going to source. You're going to bring it home. What are you going to do to make that a better, more efficient process?
Well, the plan, now it is just a plan because we haven't done it and it may evolve, but literally it's a conversation we're having right now. So I think the plan for us is we have about 7 shelves that are buried under our death pile and in amongst it. I think we're going to unbury those shelves, and we're going to build a receiving area where we do bring that stuff home. We put it on the receiving area in the order it was purchased, and then we can process. We could process items off of that. We could sort them. We could process them. We could get them to the point where they're on our listing shelves so that they could be listed. But build it to where we have to process them in the order we bought them. I think that's probably the biggest change.
Why does that make a difference? Why does it make a difference what order you bought them in?
Because if we're cherry picking, we're always picking the most exciting stuff, and all that stuff you don't want to deal with never gets dealt with. It just builds a bigger and bigger and bigger. We have stuff that we bought month 1 of reselling that's still sitting in our death pile because nobody wants to deal with it.
Why?
That's the question. Why? I think some of it was bad buys. Some of it was dirty, filthy stuff that needs cleaned.
Yes.
Some of it is stuff that we know needs tested, but it's going to take, it's more than just plug it in and turn it on to test it. It's something we got to go through pretty in depth. Like there's a lot of reasons why. Well, some of it's just difficult to list. I mean, if you have a collection of, I don't know, just say a collection of little pet shop or something. For me, that's a daunting task that will never get done.
Yeah.
For Teresa, she enjoys that kind of stuff, but there is some stuff in there that neither of us enjoy. That's like the big play sets that have 800 pieces that you got to put all together and like build the farm.
So
that we
is that
bought
something
because they comp well, but dealing with it is horrible.
That is the one of the directions you said that right there is it's hard to leave money behind at a sale, even if something is comping well. If you're never going to list it, or it's going to sit on your shelf, I'm going to try to focus on that. I'm going to pass on those things and that might not be a good idea. It's like someone might go, "Oh, well, no, you got to pick that stuff up." Yeah, unless it's just such an obvious no-brainer. You got to take this home whether you list it now or whether you list it next year. That's a good deal. And I don't know how many things that I have like that in my pile that are.
We have a lot of them.
I eventually get to it for whatever reason. Okay, I've got to clean this thing up, and okay, I'm going to just take the time and I'm going to clean the case of it up, and I'm going to test it, or I'm going to do whatever. And then I list it, and a couple days later, I got, there's another $50, $100, $200, whatever the item was, or maybe it's a $20 item that just has such a good turnover rate that as soon as I listed it, it sold. And it's like, why did I not do that? Why is it sitting in a bag, in a box, on a shelf? And we've got
a few items out there that I know are like $20 to $30 items.
Yeah.
And they're taking up a 2-foot chunk of shelf space.
Yeah.
Like an entire section of a shelf for a $20 or $30 item. And we won't list them because they're too big of a project to list it. Like we have to set out, like it's a racetrack. We have to go through and set the whole thing up. And it's just time-wise, you're like, no, I could just grab this calculator and take 2 pictures and list this. I'm not going to list a racetrack. So I think
I guess that's why did you buy the racetrack? Why you bought the racetrack because it had a good sell-through, or not even a sell-through, but a good profit.
Well,
but you don't.
And some of those racetracks we bought, we pulled the slot cars out and sold the slot cars, which paid for the track and got all our profit. But we always tell ourselves we're going to go back and list the individual track pieces.
Yes.
And lot them up in groups of 4 of the same type of track piece and stuff like that. Well, guess what? You never go back and list the track pieces.
Do. So is that something that just get rid of it? Just get. Sometimes you ever think about pulling it just off your pile, and which is hard too. I struggle so much with that same exact thing. It's not
for me. That's not hard for me. That's hard for Teresa. If I throw something away that she knows she can get $50 out of, even if it takes her 8 hours to test and list, she'll go get it. She'll go take it out of the garbage. Like she won't allow that. For me, if the time payoff doesn't make it worth it, I have no problem throwing it away, donating it, whatever the case. Like if it's still something good that somebody can use, fine, we'll donate it. Like I don't have to put it in the dumpster. But at a certain point, the dumpster is where some stuff belongs.
It just ends up that way. I don't have an issue
throwing stuff away.
That's one of the things that I'm looking at as well as I'm going through. I'm just picking up a bag and listing it. Is just really, do I want to spend the time on this? Yes, it has value, but I don't want to spend the time. I try as best as I can to hold to that theory of I need profits and not projects. And
so I think we touched on the first part of this that is very important, and that's to buy as good as you can with that in mind. Am I going to deal with this at some point? Am I going to put this off because I don't like the project that it is? I think that's the first thing anybody can do, is try to buy better. And it sounds ridiculous to say that. Everybody's trying to buy good. But
but we
just
don't.
Because it's a good deal doesn't mean it's something that's a good investment in your time.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a whole garage full of stuff that wasn't a good investment in my time. That's one of the elements. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that is part of our process too, because we do buy storage units and we do buy things that are out of our control as far as some of those items, to where we get some projects that are good profit that we're going to have to list because we do have them, or we're going to have to make a decision. I think that is part of our process. There is going to be, if we put them in the order they were bought and we have a receiving area and we force ourselves, hey, we got a thumbs up. We force ourselves to deal with them, then we could kind of do a decision-making process right there off of the shelf before they ever get to our listing shelf. Is this something that needs to go to Marketplace? Is this something that needs to go to a donate pile? Or is this worth my time to actually list on eBay? And if we're dealing with them in the order we bought them and getting them off that receiving shelf and making those decisions with them before we ever, that way you're not having to avoid them. You have to deal with them or you can't deal with the item behind it. And you can make a decision where it goes. And we're starting to get better at that, but we've never really formalized that. We've never said this should be part of our process.
That's, one thing that, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, is not stop cherry picking. Stop cherry picking what you buy. It starts with that doing the good buy, which we want to try to do that, but we still end up with this stuff. If you bought it. When I look at stuff, that's one of part of my processes this year is trying to buy better, buy items that are either listing ready. There's some stuff that you can bring home, set it on, calculator, set it on the thing, but we'll snap the pictures and it can be listed. And you do that, you pick the stuff easy out of the pile. And some of that has to do with what does my day look like? Do I have time to list all this stuff? But buying better is the thing. But stop cherry picking the pile. If you bought it, it should be good enough to list right now.
It should. And here's a good example. We have this. Teresa bought this Tupperware spice set, so it's got all the little bottles for all the different little spice things that go in your cabinet, and a little like Lazy Susan thing that they all go on. So there's like 20 bottles up there, and they're all labeled. Every one of them needs to be washed and cleaned. The whole thing. And then to photograph it, you got to lay it all out. There's, 20, 30 pieces of this, and it's worth okay money. It's not great, but it's not terrible. It's worth listing. But we have literally picked that thing up and moved it to 2 or 3 different locations now to get behind it, to get to stuff that we could list easier.
Yes.
At some point, it's better to just make the decision. And the point of putting them in order that they were bought and force yourself, like be disciplined and force yourself to deal with it at that time in the order it's in, is to keep you from touching that product 3, 4, 5 times like we're doing with that Tupperware.
Yes, exactly.
Touch it once and deal with it and be done. And sometimes deal with it means get rid of it.
Exactly. I think we talked about that a little bit the other night. I touch my items way too many times, and that's part of my streamlining my process that I'm doing too, is how can I make the flow of this item go? When I'm working out in my new garage office, and I've talked about that 100 times, and eventually I'm going to show some photos of that when it's all done. But I do have an area that is for the intake of new items, and then a testing and cleaning area, listing, a photographing, a shipping area. Keep knocking that over.
It's taking a beating today.
It is. I need to move it out of the way. It's
now, if you look at each one of these sections, like we said, we got the buying process, we've got the shipping process, we got the buying, listing, shipping. If you look at those processes and try and build them into an assembly line type thing, like think of it as an assembly line. The products come in, they go to a shelf, they get dealt with in the front of the assembly line first, and you work your way through. And you discipline yourself in that way. I don't think we would end up with a death pile like we do. We would have a backlog of inventory still that hasn't been processed. But I don't think it would ever be a death pile of things that I've moved 6, 7 times and I've avoided listing for a year and a half. Like, you would have to deal with it, or it would have to leave your area because you don't have a choice. As long as you're disciplined with it. I think that's what we need to change. I'm not saying that's the right way. I'm saying that's, for us, I think that's what we need to change.
Yeah, and everybody's process or how they do it is going to be different based on the type of stuff that they like to pick up. But if I think the overall point is to ask yourself, is it that save time, save money, or increase your profits on stuff. And, and saving the time on something can increase the profits. If you go with the time as money,
there's a whole bunch of little things that could be done with those 3 questions in mind. We could save time tomorrow if I poured a little 8x10 concrete pad out in front of my building this summer, and we set our dumpster next to our eBay shop instead of where it's at across the yard. We spend a fairly large amount of time, and we avoid doing it sometimes, going to the dumpster when we should be going to the dumpster with stuff, because it's literally 3 acres across the yard to go get to it instead of right outside the building. So just by moving the dumpster closer, we could save a considerable amount of time. Just little tweaks. Once you have a process, you could keep asking those questions.
See, that's a good thought. Yeah, just something. See, I like that, and that's it's something that you analyzed by kind of thinking through this. We talked about this earlier in the week. Hey, this might be our topic. And as I looked at everything that I was doing, I just kind of stood out in the middle of my office one day and just stared around and said, and thought, what could I do here that would make this better when I'm bringing stuff in?
I wish we were out in the eBay shop, right? I wish I was in the eBay shop recording this, because I'd pan the camera around and you could see we have 2 of the big yard waste, like trash cans, the big ones with the lids. We have 2 of them, and there's stuff piled up and falling out of the tops of both of them onto the floor because the dumpster is so far away.
Yeah,
we let them pile up, and then they're full. And I mean, just little things like that really take up, like Monday we're going to go out there, and that's our big shipping day, and the first thing we're going to have to do is go empty those garbages and haul them clear across the property to go dump those cans.
Why don't you use that new fancy tractor you got, Cory?
Because it's got a snowblower on the front instead of a loader. And we're going to need that snowblower to get to the shop.
Well, there you go. It's those little tiny things. I'm standing out there and I'm looking at stuff, and it's like, okay, the way that I like to list stuff is I want to list it in like by category or whatever. Like today I'm going to list hats or whatever. And you know what? That's actually, I'm not even going to talk about that, because that's more of the listing part of the thing, not the.
It is, and next week. We're opposites on this. That'll be a good conversation, because we're actually opposites on that in some areas, not all of them.
Yeah.
But that'll be a good conversation.
And I think about those different processes. Now, as I thought about the buying part of it, I thought the buying, the going to get stuff. One of the things that I'm going to focus on in the save time category is really try to focus more on the community sales that are in the area, rather than Wednesday night putting together my list, and I'm going to drive all over town here, and then I'm going to go to this other town. I'm going to hit these individual sales. If maybe I have to drive another 20 minutes or something to get to a town that has a community sale, that where stuff is closer, so I can do my sourcing. In less amount of time. Now I know that's going to be hard, because there's going to be a lot of sales, and you don't want to miss the sales. You want to maximize and get as many of them as you can. But if I'm looking at something that I could save time with, and again, that's an obvious thing. Yeah, Ken, go to a community sale, or whether it's a community sale.
Sometimes it's not that obvious, because they're an hour and a half difference. In your drive. So we've gone to close sales. Yeah. Well, for us, that like everything is that, like, to get to the town we garage sale in normally, it's an hour drive. But if we could drive 2.5 hours and do a big chunk community sale, I think that's the smarter decision. It's a more efficient decision.
It is,
because we can fill the car rather than a few
those IKEA distances bags. Because you live more in a rural area, like you said. Just for you to go sourcing or to really hit good yard sales, your day starts out with an hour drive.
Yep.
Right? I mean, you probably have some that are a little more local and that are closer, but if you want to have a good, efficient day, you're going to have to start out with an hour. I can't even fathom that, because most of the time in my town anyway, I can get to almost any sale within 5 minutes or less, and there are communities right here in my town that do sales. But if I drive, a little bit farther out, or I'm going to try to investigate those sales and be a little more efficient getting to places to save the time. And then
we started making a spreadsheet and looked at all the local newspapers and Facebook groups and stuff like that to try and put a list together of all the community sales.
Yeah.
For this year, for the spring and the fall, we've started putting that list together so that we could plan when we're going to be where. Because, sometimes there's 2-3 community sales or citywide sales on the same weekend.
Yes.
And we need to decide which one we're going to go to.
Which one? I hate that when
how
they
big a
end
town
up.
And
or every time that you're going to go, you'll have something else planned or something else to do. And that's painful. And there's nothing you can do about that. You just hope you make the right choice of which town to go to or which community. And then also find out, that some of these people list, we got a community sale, or this is a big neighborhood sale. And you get over there and there's like 4 houses. Yeah. Yeah. But so I guess the very start is I'm going to focus on being more efficient at going to the sales. And then when I am there, looking for better items. I'm going to try to leave profit behind if it's not something that I'm not going to list right away. If I know, when you pick it up, I've got to do this to it. I've got to do that. Again, if I'm spending, if I am going to buy the item and I know that I'm going to list it right away and I know that it has a good sell-through rate, that's a lot more profitable than spending all this extra money. That's money out of my pocket or out of my, account for my reselling business.
I wish I could set an alarm up in my head that every time the thought crossed my mind, the words, all I got to do is, as soon as that thought goes across my mind, I should just get an electrical shock and put it back down, because that gets me into so much trouble. It's like, I got to do is rewire this plug. Or
I wouldn't be opposed to following you around with a taser, though, Terry. Or Terry. The heck is I wouldn't be
who the hell's Terry?
A taser, Cory. I wouldn't. Wow. Okay, let me start that over. I wouldn't be opposed to following you around with a taser, Cory, and just every time you pick something up, maybe here's what I'll do. I'll shock you and you'll drop it, and then as you walk away, then I'll pick it up and put it in my bag. Well, now I'll pick it up and put it in my bag after you've dropped it and decided that you didn't want it.
Terry and Teresa have been talking about lately. We're actually trying to make an effort to pay up a little bit more, but buy bigger collections.
Yes.
So that we could buy more at once. Even though the profit margins are a little bit smaller, we're buying larger collections and processing them all at once. Now, obviously, that doesn't always work out, based on our latest transformer deal going bad. But I don't think everybody's out there trying to rip people off. Like, there's plenty of good buys to be had. There are some characters out there, and you got to be more careful than we thought we had to be. Apparently. But that doesn't mean we're going to change that plan. I do think it's more efficient, and I do think it's better for our business if we could take a slightly smaller margin and pay up a little more and buy a much larger collection at one time, rather than trying to buy piecemeal onesie twosie when we see them, which we still are doing. But we're making a conscious effort to find the bigger deals.
It's going to be very hard to, and I know me, I'm looking at these things. How can I be more efficient at all these processes? But I also know me. I know that I'm not going to end up leaving the profit on the table. I know that I'm going to end up still bringing stuff home that when I look in that bag, I'm going to go, man, okay, set this over here and cherry pick. I'm going to cherry pick, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try not to do that. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. Because I'm also in the direction we've talked about this, in the direction that you're going as far as wanting to buy bigger collections or wanting to spend up by bigger items that have not necessarily bigger profits but bigger dollar numbers. Yeah, you can buy something that for
it is bigger
$2 it's going to sell for $20 and 10 times your money, or you buy something for $500 that sells for $1,000 that's only 2 times your money. It's the
margins are smaller, but the profits are bigger, and I'm very much. I would rather do the work on less items for more money. Like, I don't have a problem with my margin going down if I'm making more profit at the end of the day, which you would be.
Yes.
But like what you were talking about with you and you're still going to pick up those items, that is 100% Teresa. But I think it's because you have two different types of personalities in our picking group.
Yeah.
Teresa is excited about the items. Teresa's excited to find the next cool thing. She is a treasure hunter. Like, she's really excited about the item and the buying. I'm excited about the business and the processes and the numbers and the analytics. So the process to me is like a video game. I'm excited about disciplining myself and getting as good at that process as we can.
Yeah.
And then make it better and get good at that as we can and make it better until the business is as good as it can be. Like, that's what I get excited about. So it's very easy for me to quit buying stuff like that. It's very difficult for Teresa.
Well, and you guys, being a couple doing this together, that's a great advantage, is you have one person that has the one mindset and the other that has the other mindset, and you can balance each other out. And, when you do, a lot of us that are just doing this, singly or on our own, I kind of have to look at it from both sides. Yeah, I love to find the next cool thing and the treasure, which is kind of the mindset that I am most of the time. And then worry about the business. I need to get a little bit more of the business side out and really analyze the things as I'm buying them to make sure that they're a good buy. Not one thing is a good buy that sits in a bag or in a box or on a shelf. I don't care what the profit margin is or the sell-through rate. It's a horrible buy if you don't list it, which is, that's we're going to talk about that at another time.
Yeah, I don't want it to come across like Teresa would ever not buy something. Like, Teresa will buy whatever she wants always. She always does. Like, when she finds something, if she wants it, she buys it. But if we get these processes going, like we had in other businesses too, I think her mindset switches from...
Will change, yeah.
Her mindset doesn't necessarily go to the fact of, I'm buying this, is this good for the process, like mine does. When I'm buying something, I'm like, does this fit our process? Yeah. And when she's buying something, she's saying, will I have to justify this to Cory? She's not thinking about the process. So it does ultimately make us both better pickers, I think, in the end. Yeah. Just for different reasons. Because she doesn't care about the process. She really doesn't. If she knows they make the business better, I mean, she understands that part of it. That's just not what she's in it for. She doesn't care about that side of it. And I do. But she does care about like the fact that we both have to work together, and if we're making purchases that the other one thinks are not good purchases, then you have to justify those, and it's a hassle. So she does think about it from that aspect. So, but I think it all starts with that process. I do think you have to have some kind of process.
So I guess I don't want to get on a different tangent or go. Let's just say if you had your reselling business and Teresa had her reselling business with the mindset that you have and the mindset that she has, who do you think would be more successful? I'm not calling you out or trying to...
McDonald's. We'd both fail. We would both fail so bad. We really would. Because Teresa is like the workhorse behind our business. Like, she is the lister. She'll sit down and list 1,000 Littlest Pet Shop, and she'll look every one of them up. Like, she could sit there and do that tedious stuff for days and get it done. Like, she'll see a task, she'll know it needs done, and she'll just sit there until it's done. That's true. Okay. I can't do that. So nothing would ever get listed in my business.
You would you would spend too much time analyzing it or thinking about it, or even in your buying process, you would spend too much time. Is this a good buy? What do I have to do with?
I would have the most amazing death pile that never got listed. And she would have the most horrible stuff that is all listed.
I might rival you in that, Cory. As well, actually, I'm a little bit of both of you. Yeah, I have all of this stuff in my death pile that when I get to it, it's like, man, why didn't I list this stuff already? I want to get to a point. Here's what my end goal for the buying, I guess, is to buy stuff, profits and not projects. I want to buy better stuff that is not necessarily high dollar stuff or paying up. I want to buy stuff that is listing ready, or as listing ready. If I could buy everything that I could come and just set on the photo table and snap a picture, I would be far ahead of the game. That's one of the things that holds me back, is that stuff. And it probably holds a lot of people back is, okay, could I have left it at the sale and bought a couple of more items and that were more listing ready, that have some profit, that are actually going to keep turning over and get the business going. So I want to be more efficient at that. Once I bring the items home, I want to be more efficient in my receiving area of getting this stuff out of the bags. What happens is all the best stuff that I have, it's always in the bottom of the bag. And so I walk by and I go, oh, that bag, there's a couple of plush in there, and there's some, whatever. I see that thing that needs some work on it. And so that bag sits. And then after I take that stuff off the top, oh man, yes, I forgot I bought this. This is such a cool thing. And if I would have listed it, it would have been done. So I think getting the stuff out of the bags when I get it home, so it is right there. It's either on the shelf, or I have this big table that is kind of in the middle. If it's sitting there and I can see it and I can look at it, and it's in my way, because I don't have the palatial estate and all the outbuildings that you guys have there in South Dakota. It's I do have, although my office space is very functional and it's a good size and I have plenty of room to work. If I get stuff in my way on that table, on those shelves, where I can just pick it up and go do the photographing, and again, that's more towards the listing stuff, but the buy it better, buy it right. I'm going to be having two different mindsets, because I am gearing up to start selling on Whatnot as well. And I know I've been talking about that.
You still got to buy right for that. I mean, you still got to buy you got to buy stuff you're actually going to run.
Yes. Which
it also can't be a project.
That's that mindset of getting those items that I can purchase on Thursday, Friday, Saturday at the sales, and then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, whatever, Wednesday, whenever I'm having the Whatnot, to be able to move those along. Sure, at less of a profit.
Do you have a train going
than what I could listen. I do, yeah. You sometimes the whistles you can really hear it.
No, I like the fact that you're doing Whatnot actually fits into the buying process here, because you're getting your. If it was me building the process, one of the biggest downfalls we have is we'll buy a whole bunch of stuff at garage sales. One of them might be a DVD that we comped at the sale that's selling at 100% sell-through rate for $100, and I know it's 2 photos. Yeah, and it's the easiest thing in the world to list. Well, I'm going to get home, I'm going to pull that out of the bag, and I'm going to list it, and all the other stuff's going to stay there. But now if I'm putting it on the shelf in the order it was bought type of thing, and I have to list that racetrack before I can list that DVD because I can't get to it yet, that forces me to get those things done, because I'm doing it in the order I'm bringing them in. But
that's a good plan.
But on the flip side of that, you have, like, when I'm sorting those, when I'm putting them in the receiving and I have to deal with them in the order they came in, part of dealing with those might be, okay, this is a Whatnot item. I've got to get rid of this, so it's got to go to Whatnot. Now, does this go in a Whatnot show for 6 weeks from now? Now, I don't do Whatnot, but for you, for me, it would be a donation bin, or, this needs to go on Facebook Marketplace. Does that mean I throw it in a bin and let it stack up next to my door for 6 weeks?
Well,
that's our current process.
And I think that's one of the things
now it needs to be dealt with.
I think that's one of the things with Whatnot is, you said for me, if I'm going to get rid of it on Whatnot, and you said for you that would be like a donation item or a throw it in a dumpster item.
No. It could be a Facebook Marketplace item. It's just we have different areas. Like, I'm not going to list it on eBay for whatever reason. It might go to the dollar auction on Facebook or a Facebook Marketplace sale. It might go to a donate pile. It might go to the dumpster. But for whatever category it falls to, it has to be dealt with now.
Yes.
It can't be put in a pile to grow somewhere else.
That was one of the things that when we first started to talk about this topic and one of the reasons why I need to get more efficient, because I am going to have those 2 different mindsets, 2 different directions. The Whatnot direction and the eBay listing direction are kind of two different things. As I am at the sales, I'm going to have to keep in my head, this is this I'm buying to sell on Whatnot, not because it's an inferior item or lower, but it's going to be better suited for that. And these are the items that I'm going to sell on eBay. That are marked up, that are a little higher. At least right now, I haven't done the Whatnot process. I don't know how it's going to go. I'm excited about doing it, but I may have to abandon it right away. It might not. But I'm also looking at it for the fun and the social aspect of it. But that's a different topic and a different story.
Well, and it'll change.
I need to be efficient.
It'll change your receiving process for sure. I mean, if you're buying additional items for a different platform, like if we started, one of the things we talked about is when we're at garage sales this year, it would actually probably be a pretty good idea on our part. Yeah. If we're finding end tables that are matching end tables that are in good shape, we should almost always buy them. Because we've never listed a set of end tables on Marketplace that didn't disappear within 3 days, and we get decent money for them every time. So why would we not start picking those up just because we can't sell them on eBay?
Exactly.
They're easy to list. They're easy to sell.
That's another thought in another direction. And again, our conversation last week on the show with Steve about the way that they get rid of stuff, having that dollar yard sale and getting rid of some of those things, or doing they have that dollar auction thing or whatever on the Facebook. There are all those different markets, but being efficient, asking yourself those questions, saving time. What can I do in this process to save the time? And we just we go around and around, and some of it's like, how can I, that gets to be all the way to the shipping process. I'm not going to buy. Is the efficiency part of the buying affected by what happens in shipping?
Absolutely.
Is it a big, heavy item? Is it? And so the thing, I guess, if there was any point that I would make to people in this conversation, is just ask yourself, just sit. And when you're go to work this week, you're every day, when you're out there and you pick up that first item, what could I do with this item or in this process, or how I do this that could be more efficient? How could I save time? How could I save money? And hopefully you don't have any issues. If everything was super efficient.
Oh, we've all got issues.
The tiniest little thing. Oh, I know I do. The tiniest little thing might just be that tweak. Cory and I talk a lot, and every time I talk to him, I come away with, that's an interesting way to look at it. And there's some days where I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I need to try to implement that in what I'm doing, or that's an item I might need to look at or something. And then other times we're done, and I've just given him that, that courtesy of, oh yeah, that sounds good. And then I hang up the phone and go, I'm never going to do that. That's ridiculous. Why would somebody want to do that?
This guy's crazy.
It is something that it works in Cory's process and the way that he's doing it, but it's just like,
and sometimes
it's not gonna.
I think that's part of the process, is talking about the process with somebody else like Ken, who does things differently than I do, or anybody. Get on the phone with somebody else that's doing things. Yeah. Maybe just doing their own business. They can do it similar to you and talk through your process. It's amazing how many times I get on the phone and I tell Ken, this is how we're doing it. And he's like, why?
Well,
I guess I never thought of it. I never thought of it.
I never, and because usually it's a different way than what I do it. And I go, okay, why would you do it that way? And then because initially it might be, well, that's just crazy. I wouldn't do that. But after I go, why? I ask myself why, or I didn't ask me why, I asked Cory why. And he goes, well, because such and such says, and then you go, okay, that I see what you're talking about, or how can I implement a little bit of that into something that I'm doing, or change. And, maybe I tell Cory, oh, well, yeah, but this seems to be inefficient. What you're doing doesn't seem to be right because of this. And maybe he goes, let's think about it. Oh, I want to segue into not really, I guess it's not really a segue, but you said, get on the phone, talk to somebody, meet up, go into, sometimes it's hard to ask the questions in the Facebook groups and stuff like that, because you'll get half of the people are like,
attacked.
It's negative. But you could also go to a meetup. You could go to a meetup someplace, Cory. Like,
you could go to a meetup.
The planes, I just kind of wanted to touch on that, because you're doing something with the Planes to Profit thing, that the meetup that you guys just had in February. And I think it's pretty cool. You're already planning for next year.
We have officially decided we're doing another one. So
yes.
There will be one in 2025. It'll probably be tentatively the end of March. We're going to push it back a little bit to try and avoid any weather problems,
good.
Which so we didn't have any. Like, we got super lucky.
You didn't have any. I thought it was funny. We were talking about that. Like, our conversation started with, we're getting a blizzard. We're expecting like a foot of snow over the next like 3 days. And then later in the conversation, it's like, yeah, we're planning on having this at the end of March to kind of avoid the weather. You never know what's going to happen, but I just
never
thought that
know
was
around
funny.
here, but the chances are much better in our favor having it later.
Yeah.
So
you have something going on there on your website where you're doing that people can get early access.
We had the banner from this year's show that we're not going to use for next year. Teresa actually cut that banner up, and she made some bags out of it. She made a couple of bags. Okay. She used the banner to make the bag, and she used our name tag lanyards to make the handles. So they turned out pretty cool.
Oh, kind of like an IKEA style bag, or what are you talking like a Coach purse? Okay, you're talking like
no, they're like an IKEA style bag but smaller, about half the size.
About half the size.
We wanted to actually do a raffle. We wanted to do a raffle as kind of a fundraiser type thing to start getting some money in for next year's event. Yeah. To start putting deposits down on some of the things that we want to do, because we don't want to grow the event in terms of people, attendees. Yeah. We want to grow the event in terms of we want to make it a better and better experience every year, but still keep it small. So we wanted to run a raffle for those bags and some other prizes, including a couple of free tickets for next year. And
very cool.
You can't run raffles on YouTube and Facebook. We found that out. We didn't know. Apparently that's considered gambling.
Yes.
So instead, what we've done is we've taken all of the video we could get together from this year's event, including the breakout sessions, which aren't posted anywhere, and we put them in the back end of the Plains to Profit website. And we are selling access to that. So for $10, you get access to all the content from everybody, including those breakout sessions, which are not available anywhere else. But that enters you into the raffle or drawing to win the bags, to win the sticker packs, to win the free tickets, and it gets you early access to the tickets. I believe we're doing either 50 or 60 tickets for 2025. We're going to cut it off at that. We're not selling any more than that. So you'll get if you're in that, you'll get access to buying those a month ahead of everybody else. And when they're gone, they're just gone. They may all sell out in the pre-sales. We don't know.
Yeah. Well, so that's cool.
Plainstoprofit.com if you're interested in checking that out.
Check out the site, and it is pretty cool. I think that just that value there, the chance to win those custom. Teresa got skills. Making those bags, and how cool is it that they're made from? So it's going to be a nice heavy vinyl
vinyl canvas type thing.
On the bag, and I think that was the coolest idea, to use your lanyards for like the handle, the carry straps.
They turned out really good.
But getting that early access, and I had not seen any of that content of the speakers that were at the show, and so to get to see them, so it's a good value. It's not sometimes people go, oh, there's a money grab going on here. They're just trying to get $10, but no, there is value. There's value there for your money, even if it's.
Unfortunately, I don't get to keep any of that money. That money is all going directly into the account for the event, and it's going to be going straight to deposits and stuff. So none of that's coming to us. That's going straight back into the 2025 event, which we do have big plans for. So we're going to need every penny of it.
Very cool. Well, Cory, I don't know if we really covered our topic fully. If you had, because there's so many questions. We never cover anything fully. But it's so we're going to talk next week more about the listing and asking yourself, what can I do to save time, to save money, to increase profits in the listing, the process. I found out just through us talking, the differences in the way that Cory and I go about listing things.
Which are considerable. That process, we do a lot of stuff different there.
Yeah, the photographing and the way that we list and how we're doing. And it's like, just from having somebody else to talk to, it's like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. And And then others, again, hopefully Cory hears some things and goes, yeah, I don't know why we're doing that. We should do it this way. Or I didn't know there was that particular tool or that way that you could do something. And so we're going to talk about that more next week. And just ask yourself. Yes.
Yeah. For this one, this gives you a chance to actually get your thoughts together before next week and let us know, so you kind of have an idea of what you do for listing. But for this episode, we didn't go through it. We went through it at kind of a high level. But in terms of your buying process and how you can make things better for your own business and build a process for yourself, let us know what your thoughts are on this one, because we're still putting our thoughts together. We're literally having the conversation with you here, which is why it's so scattered. So kind of tell us what your thoughts are on how you can improve your process, because it could help us actually improve ours.
Yes. Oh, definitely. And it is so scattered because I just make up stuff as I'm going along. I'm doing. What did somebody say in a comment? Their brainstorming out loud or something like that. Brainstorming anyway. So everyone have a good week. Cory, do you have anything else? Good luck in your live later today. Which when you're not later today, Monday, but later yesterday. Hopefully everybody watched it and enjoyed that. So if not, go check the replay if you missed it yesterday afternoon. So I'm excited for you to do your first live, and I'll be in attendance for sure. And I think that's probably all I got for this week. Yeah, now my brain's going 100 miles an hour because I'm thinking, I should have said this. I should have talked about this. I should have said, this about
start over.
There was so much. Yeah, let's start over.
Let's do this
Reseller
again.
Clickbait Podcast, episode 93.